With Janice Cobb of Save My Pet ID Tag, engraved with your pet's info, they allow emergency personnel to start care for your pets if you're sick or injured. Head over to SaveMyPetIDTag.com and explore products. They ensure peace of mind for you and for your four-legged family.
Hey, are you looking for a constructive way to deal with all that dog hair in your home, on your clothes? Well, our special guest has quite a yarn to spin. She is the best-selling author of the book, Knitting with Dog Hair. You heard that right. So at this time, please welcome to our show, Kendall Crolius. You had me at, what is it? Knit one, purl two?
Exactly.
Welcome, Kendall.
Thanks, Arden. It's so great to be with you.
And time does fly, doesn't it? In fact, you actually wrote the original book 30 years ago, and it is called Knitting with Dog Hair. Say it what it is.
Exactly right.
But by popular demand, we're talking a 30th special anniversary edition that's just coming off the press, right?
That's exactly right. It's coming out in November, and it has all the wonderful things from the original edition, but with some really important updates about what happened when the book first came out, because I like to think we started a movement. And,
and guys, we're not talking what kind of dog you do.
No, not that kind of movement, but no, a dog knitting movement. And so researching the update, Arden, was so much fun. And I got to say, so much easier than 30 years ago, because 30 years ago, trying to find, gee, are there people out there who spin dog hair and knit clothes out? I mean, it was hard. We're advertising in Fiber Arts magazines and all of that. Now with the internet, we've been able to find all the wonderful people who are doing it. And so many of them said, I got your book 30 years ago. I started a little cottage industry. This has been a great thing for me. And so that's really fun. So we've really built this wonderful community of dog hair knitters.
Well, in your introduction, I love this phrase. You just basically said this concept you started and people thought you were a few puppies short of a litter.
Yes.
Now, that's good. Now, all of us throughout the ages, my last dog was a Bernese Mountain Dog mix. Hair and everywhere.
Yes.
And I had a Husky Golden Retriever mix.
Oh, fantastic.
And that is a dog knitter's dream dog.
Absolutely.
I actually took one of those brushes just for fun. Her name was Chipper. And I kept grooming her. And she was about 65 pounds. She was tall in a sit. And the pile of hair matched her height. And it didn't even look like I did anything. And in typical Husky fashion, she did that.
Yeah.
It's coming. So, I mean, there's people like Colonel Sanders. He invented the Kentucky Fried Chicken. But on our show today, we have the gal that really has unleashed, spun a dog knitting industry concept. And in fact, tell everybody your website. It's real easy.
It's real easy. It's www.dogknitting.com.
So we want to go back into time before 30 years ago.
Yes.
So obviously you love dogs.
Absolutely.
You must love hairy dogs.
I
right?
do love hairy dogs, but our last dog was not a good producer from the perspective of knitting with dog hair. Many other wonderful qualities, but our Lucy was, somehow she managed to shed without really producing great yarn. So
okay. And how did you get into the knitting game?
So I have always been someone who's passionate about all kinds of fiber arts, needlework, all that kind of thing, and particularly knitting. My mom was a compulsive knitter, and I think I inherited that from her. And I'd always wanted to learn how to spin. And for my birthday,
I taught my dog how to spin.
There you go. Different kind of spinning. My husband actually gave me the gift of a weekend course in spinning. And again, this is 35 years ago. Yeah. And in the course of that, the woman who was teaching it said, you don't have to limit yourself to sheep wool. You can spin anything. You can even spin dog hair. Well, we had a golden retriever. We had plenty of dog hair around the house, and I thought, well, that'll be fun. And so I collected the fuzz and spun golden retriever and made a scarf out of it and showed it to some friends. and they had a Great Pyrenees. Now that's a great producer.
Now, is that Ollie?
That's Ollie.
All right. So tell us why a Great Pyrenees stands head and shoulders over a golden retriever when it comes to yarn supply.
Well, first of all, they're bigger, so there's more coat to work with. But secondly, they have a really thick coat with a fabulous undercoat. And it's actually in a double coated dog. It's the undercoat that really makes the best yarn. It's the kind of fluffy, fuzzy stuff, cottony stuff almost, as opposed to the long hairs. Now, there are lots of dogs that have a double coat, and a golden retriever is one of them. But that's the stuff that really makes the finest yarn. Now, Arden, I do have to point out, this is not something I invented. People have been really spinning dog hair forever. Yeah. The thing that was sort of remarkable about the book is that we were taking this knowledge, this secret knowledge, to dog lovers.
Okay.
Who didn't necessarily know about it, because most fiber arts people do know that you can spin dog hair, just like you can spin alpaca and rabbit and all kinds of things. So we were trying to take it to the dog loving world.
Okay. Well, I like that. And it wasn't just this little thin book, was it?
No, I can't remember what the original edition, about 100 pages. And it really is a how-to book. It does tell you how to spin, how to collect the fuzz, how to wash the fuzz, because you don't want a sweater that smells like a wet dog, how to spin it. And
what other things do you make out of dog hair? Just give me a rundown.
I mean, anything you would make out of sheep yarn, you can make out of dog hair. I mean, we have patterns in the book that have been specifically tested for dog hair.
I understand.
Mittens.
Mikhail Baryshnikov, the famous ballet dancer.
Famous ballet dancer, apparently had leg warmers made out of dog hair. And this is really interesting, Arden, because dog hair is actually warmer than wool. Just like cashmere and mohair are warmer than wool, they are hair fibers, not wool fibers. And they tend to be a little bit finer. They're a little trickier to spin because they don't have their own natural twist. But again, they are considered to be warmer. So an awful lot of people in Russia and the Baltic states have spun dog hair forever and make mittens and hats. I think they actually believe, they actually believe in Russia that it will cure arthritis and rheumatism if you wear. Yeah, the lawyers won't let us make that claim. I thought it was an interesting piece of folklore. Yeah.
So where are you based now?
So my husband and I recently retired to Chautauqua, New York.
Okay.
Which is in way western New York State. And we live on the grounds of an amazing cultural institution called the Chautauqua Institution. And we're in the middle of our summer season right now with theater and ballet and the symphony and opera and lectures every day and all of that. It's just great. We love it here.
So this 30th anniversary edition, tell us, you must have had to put new things in it. And things have changed in 30 years. And how do people get their paws on it?
Absolutely. So one of the things that's changed in 30 years is the emergence of designer dogs.
Oh,
the Labrador, the doodles, the Labradoodles and the Yorkie poos and all that kind of stuff. So part of the book is we have a spinner's guide to dog breeds, where we go through all the different breeds and tell you how you can use them to make yarn. And I will say there are dogs like Great Pyrenees, like Samoyeds, which are absolutely spectacular for dog yarn. And then there are Labrador retrievers and all of that who are not great, but it doesn't mean that you can't use their fuzz. So we have a category of very spinnable versus blendable, where you can take the fuzz and blend it with some longer fiber, wool or alpaca or whatever, and then something we call sprinkling, which is where you take those short little hairs and literally sprinkle them on other kind of fuzz before you spin it. So it makes a kind of tweedy yarn. It's
okay
for the devoted.
Hey, Pet Pals, we're talking with best-selling author Kendall Crolius. It's a cool book, Knitting with Dog Hair. It's the 30th edition anniversary copy. It just came out. And she has just explained that dogs like Samoyeds and Great Pyrenees are really great to knit with. Did I say knit with or did I say knit with? Who knows? But we're going to dive in and find out other breeds after we take this break. You all know the drill. Sit, stay, or knit. We'll be right back.
Hey, have you heard? Four-Legged Life has a new digital newsletter. Here, let me show you how you get yourself subscribed. So you just type in Four-Legged Life, and that'll take you to the website. There we go. And this magic thing just appears, and you type in your email address. I'll use, let's see, how about coolestdogever@gmail.com. That's me. And then you just click on this thing here. There you go. It's the new digital newsletter from Four-Legged Life. Get subscribed today.
I'm your host, Arden Moore. I am learning about knitting. Never thought in my day, can barely sew a button on. But I do admire people like Kendall Crolius, our special guest, the author of Knitting with Dog Hair. There's a new 30th anniversary edition. And as you were starting to say, Kendall, there's a lot of new breeds out there than there were 30 years ago. There's a lot more mixed breeds with the word oodle after them. And the joke with Labrador Retrievers, they've always been a very popular breed, is that they chew till they're two and they shed till they're dead. But the lab hair, the beagle hair versus the Great Pyrenees, maybe a Bernese Mountain Dog mix. What's the difference?
So the difference is the length of the fiber.
Okay.
And the longer a fiber is, the easier it is to spin. Now, we maintain that there's no such thing as an unspinnable dog, with the possible exception of the Mexican hairless.
Okay.
So
I just see you wearing a T-shirt. There's no such thing as an unspinnable dog.
There you go. Yeah, my mantra. So we have a guide to dog breeds that has been expanded in this edition to include the designer dogs, the Labradoodles, and all the different mixes and how you evaluate them. And we categorize dogs in sort of three big buckets. One, great spinnable. Two, blendable, where you take kind of shorter fibers and blend them with a longer fiber, whether that's wool or another dog fiber or whatever. So the third category is sprinkling, for dogs that have very short hair. So if you're desperate to have something with your beagle's fuzz, you simply sprinkle those little hairs that are shed onto some longer fiber, whether it's another dog, a sheep, an alpaca, whatever, and then you can go ahead and spin it and know that your beagle is represented in your sweater.
All right. So, I mean, all of us were vacuuming. You probably shouldn't vacuum it and take it out of the vacuum cleaner. What's the right protocol to extract the hair from your dog or from a Great Pyrenees? What's to knit with? I love that word, knit with.
So
I'm going to keep it going.
Knit with. So the best thing is simply to brush your dog.
Okay.
So this is great for your dog. Your dog will appreciate all the extra attention. Good for the coat. All of that. You just brush, and then you save the fuzz, not in a plastic bag, but in a paper bag, because you don't want to risk any moisture getting in there. It needs to be able to breathe a little bit. And then when you have enough, and we tell you what enough is for.
Give me an example. You're going to make mittens.
I would say with a big dog like a Great Pyrenees, when they're in the middle of blowing their coat, you can collect enough in a week to make a pair of mittens for sure.
Okay, that gives perspective. What about a sweater?
For
your husband or a good sized individual.
Yeah, absolutely. One easy way to estimate is take one of your favorite sweaters and weigh it. Okay. And then you'll have a sense of how much yarn it will take. Now, all of that kind of depends on how finely you spin the yarn, whether it's bulky or a lighter weight and all of that. But we give guidelines so you have the sense of when you have enough to do what you want to do. We also have some patterns, Arden, that only take a little bit of dog yarn.
Give example, like what?
Like a little bookmark, like a little heart that you can knit into a wool sweater. Or paw prints that you can knit into. You can do a little design in the dog yarn while you're using commercial knitting wool for the rest.
I had this image, Kendall. We're speaking with Kendall Crolius, the author of Knitting with Dog Hair. I walk into your house in upstate New York and everything is covered in big bags of hair. I don't
Well,
think that's the case.
that's certainly what it was like when we were writing the original book, collecting from breeders and dog shows and all of that, because I had to test in all of this, Arden. And I was working full time and traveling for business and had 2 little kids at home and a very understanding husband. And I would get home from the airport at 10 o'clock at night and sit down and spin dog hair samples. So it was a bit of a crazy time. This was an easier go, the revision.
What is it that you enjoy most about this? And what do you think? Is there more millennials, Gen Zers? Is it passing on from one generation to the next?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think there was a huge resurgence in knitting and other crafts during COVID.
Oh, of course.
I think A, being stuck at home, and B, kind of needing something to calm yourself down. I mean, for me, knitting's my meditation. That's what kind of soothes me and calms me down. And it's the process of doing this with your own dog's fuzz is something that everybody in the family can participate in. Your kids can help brush the dog, all that kind of stuff. So everybody can participate. And that's a wonderful thing.
So people can get the book Knitting with Dog Hair. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere. But you have this, I guess, movement. You have this group of people from all different levels and I want people to check out dogknitting.com. But how does somebody get paired up with maybe an experienced knitter who also loves dogs?
Exactly right. And we are creating a list of people who are spinners for hire, who will spin your dog fuzz if you don't want to take the time to learn how to do it yourself. These are people who do this for a living. As I say, so many cottage industries kind of sprung up people doing this, and we'll keep an up-to-date list on that on our dogknitting.com website. So if you've got a bag of poodle fuzz and
brown paper bag, folks.
Brown paper bag.
I'm already learning.
Fuzz. Yeah, absolutely. You can get connected to somebody who would be happy to spin that for you.
Have you ever, what was probably the most unusual thing you've ever knitted with dog hair that maybe you gave to it as a gift?
Honestly, the most unusual thing was a coat for a dog.
How did the dog, was it the dog's own hair?
No, it was not the dog's own hair. It was actually a pug who liked to wear a coat when he was out and about in the winter, and I knit a coat out of Newfoundland. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like a
big dog smell.
Gizmo was his name, and he thought his coat was fantastic. That's probably the strangest thing.
And he didn't mind the scent.
No, and people.
Think about dogs' ability to smell. It's so much better than us.
It is. But people often say, gosh, what happens if you go out in the rain in a dog sweater? Do you smell like a wet dog? And the answer is no. And I will point out, if you have ever smelled a wet sheep, you will know that, you don't want to go there. The part of the process is washing the fuzz either before or after.
How do you wash it?
Honestly, the best thing, dog shampoo.
Really? And just let it naturally dry after you rinse?
Yep. And I do it in the sink. I cover the drain with an old piece of pantyhose so the fuzz doesn't.
I remember those days.
Remember pantyhose? I don't do pantyhose anymore, but
But that won't suck the hair down the drain.
Something that won't suck the hair down. And it's the same thing as washing a fine sweater. You don't want to change the temperature rapidly. You don't want to use hot water. You want to use cold water or cool water. Otherwise, the fiber will felt. Now, if you want to. Well, felting is when the fibers expand and then shrink and they clump together. That's how felt is made.
Sort of like my mashed potatoes I try to make.
Yeah. There are people who do wonderful work felting with dog hair, but if that's not your intent, you have to be a little bit careful when you wash it, just as if you were washing a cashmere sweater.
Well, we have about a minute left, so I know we get people tuning into our show who love all kinds of pets. Just throwing it out there. What about cat hair? There's some hairy cats out there.
There's some very hairy cats out there, and equal time for cats. They are very spinnable because they're smaller. It takes longer to collect.
Have you seen the Maine Coon? Have you seen a Maine Coon?
Well, that's true. That's true. I have not done Maine Coon, but the long-haired cats that I've had, and it does take a little bit longer. It's also tougher to spin because the fibers are so fine.
Oh,
But it makes a beautiful yarn.
so you are the first person I've ever interviewed, and I've been hosting shows since 2007 that is using a nice commodity that we detest usually on our furniture, on our clothes, and in our house, pet hair. And you're recycling. What a great thing to do. What's a parting message you want to give everyone?
I would just say that this is so much fun. It's really all about how much fun it is. And it's also a great memento of a pet because these sweaters, these scarves, these mittens last forever. And I have a box full of letters from people who said, I got your book, made mittens out of Fluffy. Fluffy's gone now, but I'm so grateful that I have this memento. And we're all dog lovers. So all pet lovers. And that's my favorite thing about this.
I like that. You're reusing and doggone it, you're great. Hey, everybody, we're speaking with Kendall Crolius. She is the author of the best-selling book, Knitting with Dog Hair. And now, right now, there is now a 30th anniversary special edition that's been updated because new breeds. Everybody go to dogknitting.com and check out Kendall and some of these fantastic knitting ideas. I just got you a new hobby.
Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content.